Congresswoman Frankel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here. Just to make a comment on Ms. Clark's questions to you. I come from Palm Beach County where that Epstein matter arose. And aside from the justice issue, I could tell you that many people in my community are upset that it seems like a sexual predator was allowed on the loose. And I'm not going to pursue more of the questions today, but I think a lot of us have a lot more questions that we want to get to the bottom of this. I do have a request for you to help in the area of this sexual trafficking. And you probably know this. There was a study that said 71% of labor trafficking victims who come from outside the United States had entered the country on temporary work visas. I've heard horrendous stories. There was just one in fact, where I live in Palm Beach County, where women from China were being brought into, they thought they were coming into legitimate jobs, ended up in massage parlors, and they were exploited, put into prostitution. People said, well, why would they do it? Because they don't know the language. Their families are threatened. They said, their exploiters say, we're going to kill your family. They grab their papers, and this unfortunately is very, very common. There will be a bipartisan bill. Thank goodness it's bipartisan, called the Visa Transparency Anti-Trafficking Act, which would create a standardized reporting system across non-immigrant visas that permit employment and make the information available to the public. There is a provision in it that's going to require some of the information that the Department of Labor collects, because we're trying to get, I think you even mentioned, we have the Homeland Security and the Department of Labor. It seems like things are not connecting, but I'm asking you if you would, I'm bringing this to your attention, if you could assign someone as to help us get this done.
Congresswoman, I can absolutely assign someone, and as let me just say, at a variety of fronts, I was one of the individuals that stood up one of the first human trafficking task forces back when I was at Maine Justice. This is incredibly important. The visas, the various agencies do not communicate with one another as well as they could. In part, it's because our computer systems do not talk to one another. We're actually communicating by paper. And so whatever I can do to help on this front, I will assign a senior level individual to work with your office.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I want to ask you, I think in your testimony, there was a mention of a paid parental leave plan, which I think a lot of us here thinks very important. In fact, I reference you to take a look at Representative Delores' Family Act, which I think really would be a very good way to go. The plan that you put forward, I'm not really exactly sure, because it's just a few mentions of it. And then you put $750 million in mandatory funding for the paid parental leave proposal. Could you just tell me how that would be used and how you see your plan operating?
Congresswoman, first let me say if one looks at our labor force participation rate, it is falling behind other nations. Yes. And one of the important reasons that we need paid parental leave is so individuals can keep those attachments to the workforce. Studies show that when individuals leave the workforce, they're less likely to return. And let me also say that we want to support families. And especially during that early time right after a baby is born, providing the support by providing paid leave is important. And so the proposal looks to the UI trust funds, and as a first instance, of course, states would be free to go in different directions, but as a first instance would look at the UI trust funds for funding for that paid parental leave.
I don't have that much time, but I want to just make a few respectful suggestions to you.
Please.
Number one, You need to look at times when people leave the workplace for medical reasons, not just for birth, because there's probably 100 million workers that don't have access to any kind of leave here, and more leave for medical reasons than just for childbirth. So I urge you to look at that. The other thing that really concerns me is that the unemployment insurance system for the states are very underfunded, and you're proposing a patchwork solution, and it sounds to me like you understand why we need to do this. So I really urge you to take a look at Representative DeLaura's bill, the Family Act, because I think that is a much better way to go. And with that, I guess I've run out of time. I'm yielding back.
If I could, 10 seconds. Just say that ultimately the funding is something that is going to, Congress will need to act, and so the funding is something that will have to be negotiated with this committee, among others.